So I thought I'd just give you a little bit of background about who I am, why I'm here talking. So I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, spent 20 years there, 20 years out in San Diego, and I moved here to Phoenix just about 5 years ago to start this company. So if any of you are math majors, you now how old I am as well. But always been into technology and entrepreneurship. Learned that from my dad. He started a bunch of different companies. They were more lifestyle companies. None of them were really a great success, but I learned that was a path to earning income just as much as going out and getting a job. So I started 2 companies when I was pretty young. The first one was a real estate tech company. Built it up for about 4 years, and ultimately that one was a success. I sold that to a competitor of mine when I was 20, and that prompted my move from Tulsa out to San Diego. Started a software consulting company out there, which ultimately found a niche in HR software consulting. That one wasn't as a success from an exit perspective, but I learned a lot, and ultimately it landed me a full-time job that I went on to get. I got married way too young, and my wife had a daughter who's now my adopted daughter, and so I had an instant family that I needed to go and feel like I needed support. So when I got a full-time job at a company called Willis Towers Watson, is what it's called now. I had a great run there. I was there for 18 years. And they brought me in to increase the amount of SaaS revenue they did as a business. They were a consulting company, been around since the 1800s, and we were getting ready to go public. They wanted me to help increase the SaaS revenue. So over the first 16 years I was there, basically acted as an entrepreneur. I'd raise money from the board, typically $3 to $5 million at a time, go out and build a team, build a product, get it into revenue. And then once I got it to somewhere between 3 to 10 million in revenue, I would step out and go do that again. So I did that 6 times, 6 different products from concept to revenue, growing the largest one to 130 million ARR. The last 2 years I was there, spent essentially taking over a bunch of those products, 5 of those 6 products and 3 others. So leading global R&D for 8 different product lines and trying to increase the profitability of all these product lines. So a team of 380.
Were they all software products?
All HR SaaS products, yep. Focused on Fortune 500 companies. So Fortune 500 companies, we work with 90% of the Fortune 500 companies. Yeah, leading a team of 380, mostly in the US and Europe, and then built a team from 0 to 250 out in Manila as well. So left there, I discovered that running a huge team and trying to make things profitable wasn't the thing that I loved doing. I love building teams and products, early stage growth. So I left, did a little mini retirement, had fun for a while. I was in San Diego, tried to learn how to surf. That failed horribly. This body was made for spreadsheets, not sports. But got my pilot's license, learned how to fly. Ultimately, I got really bored. Started doing some investing, trying to scratch that itch. And I thought, no, I got one more company, I think, in me. So I got the idea from my co-founder, Chris, who was a hotel guy. So he owned a bunch of hotels. He was struggling with staffing at his hotels. Every single hotel he had experienced over 100% turnover. Daily no calls, no shows, where people just don't show up to work. And every single day of the year in a hotel, the amount of staff you need changes based upon what events you have going on and seasonality. So he was using staffing companies, temp staffing agencies, to fill in the gaps a lot, but had horrible experiences with them. They typically attract really low quality people. They were very unreliable, and they charged an arm and a leg. So he says, I want to be able to order staff like I order an Uber. I just want to push a button, magic happens, people show up and they work. So I thought it was a brilliant idea, and my background was in HR technology. I also always love an unfair advantage in anything that I do. So I moved out here, incubated it in his hotels, and that's how we learned exactly what to build. And they were our first customers that couldn't fire us. So as you're building your startups, find some unfair advantage that helps you get started would be my big advice. So just real quick about what Quick is. We're a labor marketplace for food and beverage professionals. So think of us as the gig economy for bartenders, servers, cooks, and dishwashers. We work with about 3,000 different businesses that are hotels, catering companies, event venues, restaurants. We're getting close to now, actually, these slides are a little bit outdated, 270,000 professionals on the platform now. Essentially, a business will post a shift, say I need a dishwasher tonight at 6 o'clock. We send that out to our professionals using our quick score algorithm and our matching algorithm, figure out the best people to send out. You accept whatever shifts you want to work. You clock in, clock out through the app. At the end of the shift, the business pays us. And as a professional, you have the money in your account 30 minutes after you clock out. So really awesome opportunity for people that need to make some more money, but also helping a lot of restaurants and event venues that help as well. So we do big events like Cardinals football games, the Waste Management Open. We also do things like Maple and Ash. They decided they're never hiring dishwashers ever again. We just send them 5 to 7 dishwashers every single night of the week. So huge opportunity. And then I'll kind of move into innovation. But the opportunity we're going after, $144 billion is spent on food and beverage labor each year in the US. About 20% of that today is done through temporary staffing. So obviously just a huge market there. But where we're really starting to get more and more of our revenue is kind of from the delta between the 28 billion and 144 billion. Actually, I call it the new SaaS. It's staffing as a service. And so that's where restaurants just use us on a daily basis and say, we no longer want to go through the pain and headache of hiring and training and scheduling just to people not to show up and leave 3 to 4 months later. But huge problem on both sides of the marketplace, and that's why we started Quick. So I wanted to spend a little time talking about innovation and how we got Quick started and kind of the history of Quick, because I think a lot of people believe if you build it, they will come. And you have to go build something really big in order to actually see if they will ultimately end up coming. We took a very different approach at Quick, and we still take a different approach at Quick today in how we innovate. So founded the company end of 2017. We actually started with a local company called Coplex, which is like an incubator accelerator. And they really will help you with, they've kind of pivoted and moved on to a different focus now. But when we use them, they would help you with do like the initial software development to get your MVP, your minimum viable product out, help you with marketing, things like that. So when I started the company, I put my own capital in to get it started. I knew that what I was trying to do is, as quickly as possible, test out if someone would be willing to trade me $1 for what we're building, right? That's the ultimate test, is if someone will give you money for what you're building. And if they'll do that, then you have something that you should probably put some more effort and energy and money behind to go build it out further. So what we did with Coplex is basically work with them to build a really nice marketing site, right? It told about what we sold, and then we created a complete facade of actually, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. There was nothing behind the actual curtain. So what we did is we built basically a single-page form that would allow you to type in your information as a professional. Say, my name is Jamie, I'm a bartender, and I'm available to work on these days. And we built another really simple form as a business that said, I'm a business and I need a dishwasher. And that's all it was. There was nothing else that we built when we first launched as a company. Once someone posted a shift, we would actually use Google Voice, the text messaging feature on Google Voice, to start texting people and saying, hey, what's your name? Zach. Zach, we have a dishwasher shift available tonight at 6 p.m. at the Hilton Phoenix Airport. It pays $18 an hour. Are you available to work? Reply yes or no. And then we would just keep track of whether you said yes or no in a Google Sheet. And then if you worked, we would have you text the word clock in when you started, text the word clock out. We would calculate the time difference of when you sent those 2 messages, and we'd pay you. But it was all manual behind the scenes. And we got this up and running with very minimal app development. It took us 3 weeks to actually launch the company from the time that we, from a technology investment perspective. We actually started as a housekeeping staffing company. That was the biggest need that the hotels that we were working with said they needed was housekeeping. We actually did that for about 5 weeks, ran into a whole bunch of issues, rebranded the entire company over 2 days to be a food and beverage company because, again, we hadn't really built anything. All we had to do is redesign the marketing website that said we're now food and beverage, and instead of being a housekeeper, you're now a bartender. So that was what we did with our pivot, and we ended up growing the company to over $1 million in annual recurring revenue in the first year off of just that simple of a concept. And we just continued to innovate after that. So build something very, very minimal to test to see if someone will be willing to trade you $1 for whatever you're building, and then build exactly what you need to do after you've got to that point. What you save in process of doing that is you save yourself from actually building something that no one will ever use. You also are able to figure out exactly what you need to build. So of the 6 other HR technology products I've built in the past, I guarantee you at least 30 to 40% of the features that we've built never really end up getting used or got used in the way that we thought they would actually end up being used. Solve the problems as they get presented to you and do the work manually. It is more labor intensive in the beginning, but if that will actually teach you exactly what you need to build. And we continue to innovate that way today, and we'll talk about some of that and how we move forward. So we didn't actually raise our first round of capital until almost a year into it. Raised our first round of capital, went out to raise $1 million, got 2.4 million in commitments, and then took 1.3 and really started scaling the team. We got everything kind of figured out here in Phoenix that first year in 2018. And then 2019, we started scaling, launching new cities, opening market by market. So we're a marketplace. We've got supply and demand on both sides. So we have to open up city by city to keep that equilibrium intact. It wasn't until February of 2019 that we actually built our own tool set to actually manage that message and communication. So we do all of our support through text message as well. But we've been a very text message heavy company the entire time. And it wasn't, now we're over a year into it before we actually built our own tool called Quickio, which is now our internal operations hub. Again, we only built what we needed to as we learned. As it became too painful to do this manually, then actually start going out and building the technology to build it. Because then we knew exactly what to build, how to build it, what problem we were solving for. We raised our first institutional round in March of 2019. Rise of the Rest, Steve Case, the founder of AOL, led that round and ultimately gave us the capital we needed to really start scaling in a really big way. Our app didn't come out until May. So now again, we're like a year and a half into revenue and before we even launched our first app. Everything still at this point was all text message based. But it got more advanced. So instead of replying, hey, send me yes or no, whether you want to take the shift, we'd send them a link. And that link just opened up a single-use web page and described the shift, and you could click the yes or the no button. But it's just one step of innovation at a time. Makes it much, much more capital efficient, but you also really get to know your end users, right? And get to know exactly what they need to be built. And so when we launched our app, we knew exactly what we were building, and we didn't build one feature into that app that isn't 100% utilized today. And also wanted to tell you, you don't have to have an app in order to make a huge company as well, all right? A lot of people are like, well, I gotta launch the app and then I can do this. Go out there and test it, innovate as you go. Moved into our current office, actually our first own office that we had in August that year. We'd always been in co-working spaces in the past, so we started at Galvanize, then over Industrious. We got our own space, 24th and Camelback right now. Which is awesome. It's like a 10,000 square foot office, and we just signed an LOI for our new office, which is 50,000 square feet, going to be in Old Town Scottsdale. Ended up the year at 25,000 shifts. So it was a huge year for us, a lot of growth. 2020, we started the year off strong. It was a great start to the year. We launched our second app, our business app. So we had our pro app, so we call the two sides of our marketplace, our supply, our professionals, demand, our business partners. So we launched our app for the business partners so they could actually clock in people, check on status, post their own shifts and things like that. And then COVID hit. As I mentioned, we're a venture-backed company. And we made the brilliant decision to move our Series A fundraise from the fall of 2019 to the spring of 2020. We wanted to show more progress, right? Go out there and show as much progress so you get as big a valuation as possible. COVID hit, we're in hospitality. All we do is hospitality. Our revenue dropped 80% overnight. We were actually up in San Francisco at investment committee, which is like the final stage of fundraising when travel got shut down from Europe and the NBA shut down. And the 4 VC firms we were talking to were like, all right, pencils down. We're not writing a check. This is not something we believe in. COVID was scary, right, at that point as well. We quickly innovated. We came up with virtual orientations. Again, when we used to orient all our professionals by bringing them together at a big venue. We'd have 30 to 50 people at a time come, and that's how we'd vet people. You can't necessarily do that when COVID's happening. So we innovated. We started using Zoom and just setting up one-to-one Zoom sessions to still get people on the platform. But now our revenue's down. We're still trying to innovate, but we're running out of cash because no one will fund us. So we were 54 employees when COVID started, and April of 2020, probably one of the hardest days of my life. Had to get on Zoom. We do all hands every Friday, and I'm very transparent with the team always. Everyone in the company has access to our P&L, our balance sheet. They knew where we were at. And I had to let the team know that 70% of them were no longer going to be part of the company after that call. And I called each person in the company and let them know whether they're going to stay or whether they were no longer part of the company, had to leave. This really wasn't a layoff because it wasn't about chopping fat. When you go from 54 down to 19, it's not about who you can cut. We actually wiped the slate clean, and we added 19 people back that we thought were absolutely critical to run the company. The problem was I didn't have enough money to pay all 19 people. So I got the 19 people that we told that they were staying back on the line and shared with them we didn't have enough money to pay all of them, and I needed everybody to take at least a 25% pay cut. We came up with a program that allowed you to exchange your salary for equity. So we would do it on a dollar for dollar basis. For every dollar of salary you gave up, we gave you $1 of equity at the last round price. So it's basically, we had made a lot of progress since the March of 19, but we allowed that exchange. And still to this day, I don't know why all 19 people stayed. We were running out of cash. Our revenue was in the tank. You would think that our company was going to go to zero. And now the CEO is asking you to take a 25% pay cut or more. Every single person stayed. Every single person took the pay cut. Some people took up to a 70% pay cut in order to keep Quick alive. And we kept all those people throughout the entire year in 2020 as well. We ultimately convinced our current investors to put some more money into the company. I call it our COVID round. It wasn't really a proper Series A that we were going out to raise. And then we kind of slowly started digging our way out. We fell off this cliff. And when you don't have as much work going on, you have a lot of time to innovate. You have a lot of time to build the company better. And so over the course of the rest of 2020, we improved the company 2 to 3x. We finished 2020 essentially flat with 2019. We're actually just a few percentage points ahead from a revenue perspective. Did about $4 million that year in revenue. And then 21, things came back just as fast as they turned off. It was February 6th of 21. It was like the light switch came back on. And throughout the year, looking back on it now, we averaged 34% month-over-month growth throughout the entire year of 2021. We did, as I told you, we did $4 million in revenue in 2020. We ended last year at a $72 million run rate. We went from 19 employees to 171. Talk about a whole different set of challenges, right? Talk about having to innovate on how to grow versus innovating on how to decline. They call it the Entrepreneurial Rollercoaster. This was the other side of that, but equally as tough. Ended up doing our Series A. It was still in the very beginning of that recovery for us in COVID. But landed $10 million Series A. hit 100,000 shifts in July, and then we just went on a tear. Again, these slides are a little bit outdated, but we did 2 million, 3 million, 4 million back to back. And then we ended the year over 5 million in revenue. This year we'll do 120. So that's really kind of where we're focused right now. What we're doing is focused on launching new markets. We're in 15 markets today. We'll be in 30 markets by end of year. And yeah, our aim is to just launch markets, continue to grow the team, and not only be the largest provider of temporary food and beverage staffing in the US, but be the largest provider of all staffing for food and beverage in the US. We want to be the staffing as a service across all restaurants, catering companies, event venues, et cetera. So that last two slides were for a different presentation that I was, full transparency, reutilizing some stuff that I did at a different ASU class a couple months ago. But that's really what I want to share with you today. When you're talking about starting your own companies, look at it and innovate as little as you can. Build as little as you can, I should say. Innovate greatly, right? But even today, we empower every single person in the company to innovate. We have ASU students that are working with us now that are doing no-code, low-code solutions to help us build out the next level of innovation. Experiment with something, try it out, do something that doesn't require actual an engineering team to go build it, and then figure out what you're going to learn. Try it out, and then if that works, then go and build something else. We always encourage everyone to fail. The sooner you fail, the faster you learn. And at Quick, we really believe in hiring adults, treating them like adults, letting them place bets and be bold. And on that note, this is a bit self-serving, but we're hiring. We're hiring a lot of people. I know you guys are starting your own ventures and everything else like that. But if you want a place to learn as you build out what you do, a place to gain some experience. As I said, we went from 19 to 171. I think we have 30 to 40 open roles right now. Hiring all across the board in all departments, and not just here in Phoenix. We're hiring in other cities, but our Phoenix is our headquarters. This is where we planted our flag, and always looking for really great people to join the team. I always say the team is only everything. You got to focus on the team. We have an amazing team of rock stars with an incredible culture that I think is unmatched anywhere else, and we'd love to have you join the team. So we'll open up Q&A. If you guys are shy about asking questions, we brought swag to encourage question asking. And then Eric also has some little cards that talk about our cultural values, and he'll pass those out. And if you're interested in a job and working with us, we'd love to have you click the link, the QR code, and learn about what we do. And yeah, we'll open it up.
Awesome. Thank you, David.